Gentlemen, we've got a really great treat. High noon on New Year's Eve, the Sugar Bowl in an unusual time slot, but it's going to be a good one. Number 5, Alabama. Number 9, Kansas State, champions of the Big 12, facing off on ESPN. It's at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans. And guys, as compared to maybe a train wreck of a game that's going to be going on network television, this is certainly the highlight. And Alabama's coming off a season where they feel like, and they've been told by their fan base, this is a failure, right? A 10-2 team did not make the SEC championship game. They were not the delegates from the West. On the other side, it's been a resounding success for Kansas State and Chris Kleiman, who really feels like they've found something special there in the Little Apple. Deuce Vaughn was electric. They upset TCU in the Big 12 championship game. Kind of a game of opposing styles where not that Kansas State wasn't physical, but it's not necessarily their brand. They've got a little bit more speed, a little bit more make you miss in their offense. Alabama is as talented as ever, but they just couldn't find a way to get past that 10-2 hump this season. Take me through this bowl game. Is this a Alabama revenge tour? Is this something that we feel like Bryce Young, Will Anderson, they opt into this bowl game, they come back to make one final statement at Alabama? Or do we feel like a lot of them have checked out with the transfer portal and this is Kansas State's game to lose?
It's going to be interesting to see how Alabama plays this. I think just from seeing how they've handled practice, it's going to be a Nick Saban led team. So they're going to be business. They're going to be, not just out there not trying, but I think this might be one of the loosest we've ever seen, loosest Alabama teams we've ever seen. I've heard about Jalen Milroe taking reps at receiver. I've seen some rumblings of just like things that you never see at Alabama practices. We're seeing them at the Sugar Bowl practices. So I'm really interested to see how that works. Alabama wins this game, I think, if they just let Bryce Young cook. The offensive line has been one of the worst in the country at preventing pressure on their signal caller. Really surprising for an Alabama unit. We don't usually expect that. We usually expect them to be more on the Joe Moore finalist side of things. And then they've lost players to the transfer portal. So it's going to be really interesting to see if Kansas State can make Bryce Young uncomfortable. But listen, Bryce Young is the best player on the field in this game. And if he can cook, he's going to be the best player, at least when he's on the field. Will Anderson might have something to say about that when he is on the field as well. But Alabama definitely has the star power. If they can protect Bryce Young, let their defense do their thing, I think they're going to have a pretty good day.
Yeah, and I mean, there's certainly a fantastic team that Kansas State's going up against. This might be one of the best teams Kansas State's played all year. I'm saying might because I'm not sure that they're better than TCU, but we saved that for the actual video. Go check out the full pod if you want that one. Look, Kansas State's going to win this one if they've got a little bit of magic left in the tank, right? This has been a fantastic season for them. They win their conference championship game. They beat a TCU team that's in the playoff. They've shown that they have that in them, and they're doing it a different way. Will Howard's actually slinging the rock right now and just absolutely, putting up some big numbers. Deuce Vaughn, we've talked about him, just a fantastic player. In my opinion, one of the most dynamic in college football right now. He's had a really special season, and if the Deuce can get loose on this one, it's going to be all right. I think that there's some things that you might concern yourself with if you're Alabama. Okay, they are physical on defense, but they haven't been that good in the secondary this year, right? There's still some issues in the secondary that I think Kansas State can expose if you got a guy like Will Howard back there. They've had some good performances, and I don't think they're getting enough, credit on the defensive side of the football. They've got some physical guys in the trenches that I think can stand up against Alabama.
Sure.
You got some guys in the portal right now, maybe a little bit of lack of motivation. And this is what we've been talking about for a lot of these teams. It's motivation. Why did Texas Tech beat Ole Miss? Motivation. They wanted to be there, right? How did Kansas stay put with Arkansas for as long as they did? They wanted to be there, right? And so there's some of these Big 12 teams that have been hanging with some SEC, better squads on paper at least, because they wanted to be there. I kind of question where Bama's head is at with this one. Obviously, Nick Saban's going to have his guys ready to play, but I think that Kansas State sees this as a better opportunity for them and for their program. So I'm excited to see how Kansas State can come out, score some points. If they get up pretty quick, they could blitz this Bama team, real quick, and Bama could look up. They're down 10, 14 points early and start to, maybe wonder if this is the moment to pack it in.
I think that Alabama is down so many players because of the transfer portal, whether it's receivers on the defense, the offensive line. They literally have half their scholarship offensive linemen in the transfer portal right now. And Garrett, very similar to what you're saying, this is a chance for Kansas State to make a historic mark to end their season on a real high note and propel them towards the top of the new Big 12, right along with Kansas State, or I'm sorry, with TCU and Oklahoma State. I picked Alabama and Nick Saban to win the national championship in the preseason because I thought this was the Nick Saban revenge tour. At the end of the day, though, you've got to have the Jimmies and the Joes ready to go, and they're down that offensive line. They're not a healthy ball club. I'm going to take Kansas State in this game, guys. Call me crazy. I'm going to go Kansas State 31, Alabama 24. I think the Wildcats ride off into the sunset as the Big 12 champs and the Sugar Bowl champs.
All right. I love the pick. I personally am going to roll with Alabama. I think, but usually the Big 12 teams in the Sugar Bowl, since it's become kind of the Big 12,
they show up.
Their best guy versus maybe the team from the SEC that's not happy to be there. The Big 12 teams show up and they show out. I think this is going to be a close game. Give me Alabama to make one or two more big plays. Win this one. I think a lot of points are going to be scored. I'm going to go 45-38.
To quote the great Lee Corso, not so fast. Okay, I'm rolling with Kansas State in this one, right? They've been my darling this year. I'm not turning my back on them now. They play physical up front. I think they're going to have some success stopping the run in this game. They're going to force Bryce Young to be that guy. There's not the same playmakers on the outside that they've had through the year. And I might say it. I think that based on what they showed you against TCU, they can stand up against some really good and talented wide receivers. They've shown you all year they're a good team. Will Howard's going to have a little bit of a swan moment right there. And he's going to have this moment to come out and show the college football world who he is. And I'm going to take him to kick a last-second field goal. Just, make it dramatic. It's got to be dramatic if it's Kansas State on this one. I'm going to take him 29-28 in a dramatic game where Kansas State hoists the trophy, rush the field, go crazy, live it up in the Big Easy.
Oh, that would be a tremendous weekend for the Kansas State Wildcats, no doubt about it. Like I said, watch this game, not the other game that's on in the same window. The Sugar Bowl between Alabama and Kansas State could be a classic, and we're excited to watch it.
Gracious,